When you hear someone start a story with, "So there I was," your mind kind of jumps to those embellished war stories, doesn't it?
Yeah, the ones that maybe get a little bigger each time they're told.
Mhm.
Bit of drama added.
Exactly. But what if, like, stripped of all that bravado, those stories actually held some really universal keys? Keys to leadership.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Well, that's pretty much what we're digging into today. Our sources, beyond the horizon and the American flag and its rules, they do come from U.S. Navy SEAL teams.
Right, the background is a military.
But this deep dive, it's really not about glorifying individuals or, spinning yarns. It's about pulling out something much deeper.
Something actionable.
Profound leadership lessons, yeah. Stuff that applies in, well, any tough situation, not just combat.
That's the critical link, isn't it? The universality.
Think about it. After 9/11, you had this long period of sustained conflict for America's military.
Yeah, decades, really. A whole generation forged in it.
And leadership wasn't learned in, like, a classroom setting for these guys. It was forged right there on the front lines.
In the crucible, as they say. Real-world testing.
Exactly. These leaders weren't just reading theories. They were testing hypotheses under the most extreme pressure you can imagine.
Life and death stakes, figuring out what works and what doesn't when it absolutely matters most.
Right. It's this incredible pool of hard-won wisdom, real-world experience. And that's the well we're tapping into today.
And our mission here really is to unpack those core principles. We're diving into extreme ownership and these related laws of combat.
Frameworks they actually used.
The frameworks that allowed SEALs to, as the sources say, dominate the enemy and win in places like Ramadi, which were just unbelievably complex and dangerous.
But the really fascinating part, maybe the most useful part for you listening,
is how these same principles, born in battle, have been successfully applied in the civilian world.
Yeah, in business. Companies, executives facing their own kind of intense pressure, their own competition.
And winning. So this deep dive, it's kind of a shortcut for you, really. A way to understand what it takes to succeed when things get tough.
Whether that's a boardroom, a startup, maybe even just hitting your own personal goals.
It's about leadership under pressure, wherever that pressure comes from.
The absolute core, extreme ownership. The fundamental shift in leadership.
Okay, so let's get into this core idea then. Extreme ownership. It's a phrase you hear a lot now, but its real power is in how simple and radical it is.
Deceptively simple, maybe? The sources define it directly. No ambiguity.
Right. It says, on any team, in any organization, all responsibility for success and failure rests with the leader. Full stop.
All of it. And the implication is, well, it's stark. There is no one else to blame. Period.
No excuses. If something goes wrong, the leader has to step up, acknowledge mistakes, admit failures.
Own it completely.
And then, this is key, develop a plan to win. It's not just about taking blame. It's about fixing it.
It's an absolute standard. Cuts through everything else.
And the psychological shift there, that's huge, isn't it?
Well, it's profound. Because think about it. When your subordinates, your team, aren't doing what they're supposed to.
Your first instinct might be to point fingers. They didn't listen or they messed up.
Right. But leaders practicing extreme ownership, they have to first look in the mirror at themselves. That's the immediate reaction.
It's not just a phrase then.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's a total internal shift. It flips the whole blame game on its head. Our natural tendency is to look outward for fault, right?
Yeah, find external reasons. Makes us feel better.
But extreme ownership forces you inward. It demands you genuinely believe every outcome, good or bad, somehow traces back to your influence.
That sounds incredibly difficult, confronting.
It is confronting. It often clashes right with your ego. But that discomfort, that's where the real transformation happens. For the leader and then for the team.
So the leader's responsible for everything. The mission, the plan.
Everything. Clearly explaining the why, the strategic mission, developing the tactics, making sure the team has the training, the resources.
All of it falls on the leader.
It's completely comprehensive.
Yeah.
And it's so different from that joking war story. So no shit, there I was, knee-deep in grenade pins.
Right, that's for laughs.
This is deadly serious. No embellishment, just absolute accountability. The stakes are too high for anything less.
Okay, to really get it, we probably need to see it under fire. Literally. And the sources give this really harrowing example for Ramadi.
Yeah, the blue-on-blue incident. Friendly fire.
Just the worst possible thing in combat.
Absolutely a leader's worst nightmare. Imagine the scene. A big operation underway. Chaos.
So then friendly forces, unidentified, enter a sector they shouldn't have too early.
Leading to this catastrophic chain reaction. An Iraqi soldier killed, several others wounded, including one of their own SEALs.
Gauze by your own side, the devastation, the confusion. It's hard to even picture.
In the immediate aftermath of that, that's where extreme ownership really shines.
How so? What happened next?
Well, the commander, one of the authors, he felt this crushing weight, naturally. His first instinct, he admits, was to find the single point of failure.
Try to figure out who screwed up, specifically.
Exactly. And others involved, like the radio man maybe relaying bad info, or an advisor who made a tactical call, they immediately tried to take the blame for their part.
People stepping up to own their piece of it.
Yes, but the commander, he did something decisive, something profound in that moment, which could have just shattered the team with blame.
Yeah.
He took full responsibility for everything that went wrong. He told his men, it was my fault. I owned them all.
Wow. All of it, even the parts he didn't directly control.
All of it. And you have to ask, why was that so critical? Especially there.
What was the impact?
It instantly killed this myth that soldiers are just robots following orders. They're not. They're smart, creative, free-thinking individuals.
They need to believe.
They have to believe in the mission, understand the why, and crucially, trust their leader immensely.
And blaming just destroys that trust.
Completely. Contrast that with what the sources call weaker commanders, who just blame subordinates. That leads to broken teams. Resentment, no innovation, people afraid to admit mistakes.
So his taking ownership, even though it must have been incredibly painful?
It fostered deep belief and trust. It sent a message, I stand behind you, which is vital in places where mistakes happen. But learning from them is everything, where innovation and input from everyone are encouraged.
Okay, so connecting this back, for you listening, when something goes wrong at work, a project fails, a client complains.
What's your first gut reaction? Is it who messed up, or is it, okay, I own this, how do we fix it?
The message that sends, it changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it?
Immediately. It builds accountability, trust, and focuses everyone on solutions, not blame.
That story really hammers home the accountability aspect, and it leads right into another powerful phrase embodying this. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders.
Oof. That one can be tough to swallow sometimes, but it's fundamental.
And the sources illustrate it with this amazing story from SEAL training, right? Bodhi S. Hell Week?
Yeah, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. And Hell Week, it's legendary. 5 days, brutal, mostly a mental game, not just physical.
So during one Hell Week, they had these boat crews, small teams, constantly tested.
Right, 7 guys per boat. And there was this one crew, Boat Crew the 6th, nicknamed the Smurf Boat Crew. They were just consistently embarrassingly last.
Slow, disorganized, complaining.
Losing gear, yeah. Just a mess. And then you had Boat Crew 2, total opposite. Dominant, always first, sharp, working together.
The contrast couldn't be clearer.
And then the instructor, one of our authors, did something really insightful. Kind of radical, actually.
What was that?
He just swapped the leaders. Took the leader for the best crew, put him in charge of the worst, took the leader from the worst, put him with the best. Didn't change anyone else.
Just the leaders.
Just the leaders. And the result was, as the book says, a shocking turn of events.
Boat Crew 66, the Smurfs.
They transformed. The same team in the same circumstances, only under new leadership. They went from worst to best. The complaining, the frustration, gone, replaced by dominant performance, self-correction. They were helping each other.
Wow. And the other crew, Boat Crew 2.
They plummeted. Under the new, less effective leader, their performance just cratered.
So it really wasn't the team members.
It drove home the principle. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. It forces the leader to accept total responsibility, to own the problems, find the solutions.
It's not the players, it's the coach, essentially.
In a way, yes. The team's performance is directly tied to the leader's ability to set a clear goal, enforce high standards, motivate, and drive continuous improvement.
So what did the new leader do differently with Boat Crew 66?
He brought his high standards, his clear communication. He motivated them. He held them accountable, but without blaming them. He pushed them to find solutions, demand more from themselves. He led.
It wasn't magic, it was leadership.
Exactly. So the takeaway for you listening, if your team's underperforming, this principle says the first place to look is
In the mirror, at your own leadership.
right. What are you doing, or maybe not doing, that's contributing? How can you lead differently to get those extraordinary results, like that Smurf crew?
That's such a stark, direct example. Okay, let's bridge this to the civilian world now. The stakes might feel different, but leadership principles should hold, right?
They absolutely do. Career survival, company success, those are high stakes too.
The sources have this business case involving a corporate VP. His big plan to consolidate manufacturing plants, it failed completely.
Yeah, major strategic initiative gone sideways.
And his immediate reaction?
Textbook blame game. He blamed his distribution managers, said their concerns about losing face-to-face contact, issues with rush orders, he called them unfounded.
He just dismissed their input.
Basically said they just need to adapt to teleconferences, and that should be good enough communication. He genuinely thought the problem was them, their inability to adjust, not his plan or his leadership.
Sounds familiar. So how did the extreme ownership coaching come in?
Well, the instructor, knowing the VP might get defensive,
Yeah, ego can be a big barrier.
took a careful approach, didn't start with, you messed up, framed it more like, maybe I'm not here just to help you, but to help the situation. Kind of indirect.
Smart.
But then came the direct advice. Your people don't need to be fired, they need to be led. Powerful stuff.
Oof. Yeah.
He told the VP he had to take total ownership of the failure. Tell the board it was on him. Even if deep down it felt like not all my fault.
And did the VP resist?
Initially, yeah. The sources mention his resistance to total ownership. It mirrored those bad SEAL leaders who blamed others in combat.
Because owning failure is hard.
It is. But that blaming mindset the instructor stressed leads nowhere good. Ineffective teams that just make excuses and ultimately never made the adjustments, needed to win. Stagnation, finger-pointing.
So the instructor was blunt about the consequences.
Absolutely. Said there are no negative repercussions to extreme ownership. Anything else is simply ineffective. Taking ownership isn't weakness, it's strength. It empowers you and your team to find solutions.
Shows humility, resilience.
Exactly. Builds loyalty, inspires effort. So for you listening, when things go sideways, do you find yourself deflecting, even subtly? Or do you step up and own it, even when it feels unfair?
Because taking that ownership, rather than shifting blame, it builds trust, right? Improves effectiveness.
Creates that positive cycle of accountability and problem solving, instead of that downward spiral of blame and excuses.
The laws of combat tactical principles for any arena.
Okay, so we've got extreme ownership as the bedrock. Now let's get into these laws of combat. Tactical principles, yes, but the claim is they work anywhere.
That's the fascinating part. Honed in extreme environments, but surprisingly universal.
The first one is cover and move. Sounds military, but what's the core idea?
It's the root of all tactics, really. The essence of teamwork. It emphasizes that when teams work together, truly support each other.
They're more effective.
Way more. They multiply their impact and capability exponentially. It's not just adding efforts, it's compounding them. A true force multiplier.
Okay, makes sense. How did this play out for the SEALs?
Well, even within elite units like the SEALs in Ramadi, they had what one author called a rude awakening to this.
Even among themselves?
Yeah. He admitted that sometimes he got so wrapped up in his own team's details, his direct reports, their tasks.
Tunnel vision.
Exactly. He momentarily forgot about the other team, what they could do for us, and how we might help them. He missed the bigger picture of how all the units connected.
Underscoring that key truth.
If the overall team fails, everyone fails. You can't succeed in isolation. They quickly realized they had to work seamlessly with Army units, Marines, even the Iraqi soldiers they were training. Genuine mutual support was essential.
Any specific examples of that mutual support?
Oh, yeah. Like a SEAL breacher might use a big explosive charge on a gate. Effective but loud, gives away your position. But the Iraqi soldiers, they had local knowledge. They knew how to quietly pop certain gates. Or they could spot bad guys from the good based on tiny cues, dialect, dress, how someone carried themselves.
Things the SEALs might miss.
Unexpected but critical support they learned to rely on. Now, apply that to business.
How does cover and move work there?
The sources give an example of a production manager constantly blaming a subsidiary company for transport delays. Oh, those guys are horrible. They always mess up. Classic silo thinking.
Creating an adversary instead of a partner.
Exactly. The advice was pure cover and move. Engage with them. Build a personal relationship. Make them a part of your team, not an excuse for your team.
So reach out, basically.
Hold joint meetings, share goals, build informal communication lines, treat them like partners, and guess what?
It worked.
Big improvements in efficiency, on-time deliveries, because the subsidiary felt valued, part of the team. So think about your work. Who do you rely on? Internally, externally.
Are you building bridges or walls?
Are you fostering collaboration or creating that us versus them dynamic? How can you apply cover and move to build stronger alliances, leverage everyone's strengths?
Breaking down those silos. It sounds simple, but like you said, it's hard to simplify things, especially plans. Which brings us to the second law. Simple.
Ah, yes. Simplicity. Crucial in chaos.
The sources stress that in combat, plans and orders must be communicated in a manner that is simple, clear, and concise. Why is that so vital?
It's not just a nice to have, it's a requirement. Ensures everyone that is part of the mission must know and understand his or her role. Complexity breeds confusion, and confusion can be fatal.
And there's a military story for this one, too.
A very telling one. A MITT leader military transition team working with Iraqis presented this incredibly complex patrol plan for Ramadi.
Elaborate.
Oh, it was intricate, crossing multiple unit boundaries kilometers long through dangerous areas, so many branches, contingencies. It was just hard to grasp.
Overly complicated.
Jocko's advice was direct. Simplify this a little bit. Even after simplifying, the patrol hit heavy contact common in Ramadi.
But the simplicity helped.
Massively. Because the core plan was simple, everyone knew their role, the main objective. When things went sideways, they could adapt quickly. Calling in support tanks, case evac was faster because the underlying plan was clear.
So the lesson was?
His core teaching. If your team doesn't get it, you have not kept things simple and you have failed. It's the leader's job to ensure clarity.
And the business parallel.
A manufacturing company with this staggeringly complex bonus system. Management loved it, thought it incentivized everything.
But the workers?
The employees on the line don't seem to adapt and focus to take advantage of it. They just didn't understand it. Couldn't see how their work connected to the bonus.
So simplifying it.
Drastically improved things, increased the behaviors they wanted. The logic is straightforward. Complex plans might look smart, but they fall apart under pressure. They add confusion.
Whereas simple plans allow for adaptation.
Right, everyone has that baseline understanding. They know the goal, their part. They can adjust intelligently. So, for you listening, how much unnecessary complexity are you adding?
To projects, emails, instructions.
Are you briefing to ensure the lowest common denominator truly understands the core message? Clarity empowers action. Don't overcomplicate.
Okay, keep it simple. But even with a simple plan, chaos happens. You get overwhelmed. Too many things demanding attention at once. What then?
That's exactly where the third law comes in. Prioritize and execute.
The directive for when you're drowning.
Precisely. When overwhelmed. Relax, look around, make a call. It sounds simple, but it's about consciously breaking the panic cycle.
And then?
Determine the single highest priority task and execute it. Then move to the next. Cut through the noise, focus your energy sequentially.
And the military example for this must be intense.
Oh, it is. SEALs trapped in a place called the Hornet's Nest in south-central Ramadi. Just constant, heavy fire from everywhere. Pinned down, a SEAL wounded, needing urgent care, and the threat of an imminent IED detonation. Multiple critical problems hitting all at once.
Most people would freeze or try to do everything.
Leading to paralysis or ineffective action. But the platoon, because of intense training, instinctively applied prioritize and execute.
What was their sequence?
Almost immediate. 1. Secure the position, suppress enemy fire, stop the immediate threat, highest priority.
Makes sense. 2.
Breach the locked gate to escape. Staying put meant death. Get out of the kill zone.
Only then.
3. Conduct a full head count. Evacuate the wounded. They tackled the most critical problem first, then the next, then the next. Focused sequential action saved them.
Avoiding that target fixation.
Crucial. Don't get stuck on one problem or overwhelmed by all of them. Relax, assess, prioritize, execute, then reassess and reprioritize. It's a cycle.
And the business side. How does this apply when you're, say, losing money?
Good example. The sources mention a pharmaceutical CEO, company losing money, but he had a plethora of new initiatives all running at once.
Trying to fix everything simultaneously.
New products, Salesforce changes, fighting competitors, feeling like he was just putting out fires, making no real progress, overwhelmed.
So the advice was?
Jocko told him, focus on one, pick the single highest priority. And when that one is completed or at least has some real momentum, then you move on to the next one.
One thing at a time.
That singular focus united the company's efforts. Everyone pulling in the same direction. They made quick progress, built momentum, broke the feeling of being overwhelmed.
So for you listening, are you juggling too many priorities? Is your team spread too thin?
What's the one most important thing you need to tackle right now to move your mission forward? How do you bring that laser focus to your team?
That focus is critical, and achieving it, especially across a large team or complex project, seems impossible for one person to manage alone.
Which leads perfectly into the fourth law of combat, decentralized command.
Meaning the leader can't be everywhere at once.
Exactly. You simply can't have omnipresence. Whether it's a battlefield or a business, you can't see everything, control everything directly.
So you have to trust others.
You must trust subordinate leaders to make decisions. Good decisions based on a clear understanding of the commander's intent.
How necessary was this in somewhere like Ramadi?
Absolutely essential, especially with larger forces, sometimes 150 people involved, SEALs, Iraqis, Army, Marines. The sheer scale made central control impossible.
So frontline leaders had autonomy.
Yes, they were empowered to make tactical calls on the spot, like changing the entry point to a building if the planned one suddenly looked too dangerous, or altering a patrol route based on new intel.
Without calling back for permission.
Right. Waiting for approval from HQ kilometers away would cost critical time, maybe lives. This autonomy was vital for things like coordinating sniper cover, clearing buildings, reacting to threats in real time.
And the key to making that work is?
Commander's intent. It's not just telling people what to do, it's making sure they understand why they're doing it.
The bigger picture?
The ultimate goal, the purpose, how success is defined. If the why is crystal clear, subordinates can make smart, independent decisions within those boundaries, even when things change unexpectedly. Their actions still serve the overall mission.
And in business, how does decentralized command play out?
The sources describe a financial services president. He noticed his branch managers had wildly different results. Some led huge teams, 21 people, others just 2.
And the bigger branches did better.
Much better, because those managers had to use decentralized command. They were leading, empowering their team leads. The managers of tiny branches, they were forced to spend their time selling, not leading. The branches stagnated.
So the solution was?
Empower subordinate leaders across the board. Give them clear guidance, the commander's intent to find their boundaries, and then let them lead their teams. Don't get bogged down trying to manage every detail yourself.
So for you listening, do your people feel empowered to make decisions? Or are they always waiting for your green light?
Are you giving them clear commander's intent, the why and the goal, or just a list of tasks?
How can you create that environment where people take charge and make things happen effectively?
The art of leadership, balancing dichotomies and human elements.
Okay, so we've covered extreme ownership and the 4 laws of combat. Now we move into something the sources call the dichotomy of leadership.
Yeah, this is where it gets really nuanced, where leadership becomes more of an art than a science.
Meaning, it's not always straightforward.
It means effective leaders constantly have to balance qualities that seem like opposites. They have to find this middle path between extremes.
Not being wishy-washy, though.
No, not at all. It's about understanding the tension between these opposing forces and knowing when to lean one way or the other, depending on the situation, the team, the mission. It's dynamic.
Can you give some examples of these dichotomies?
Sure, a leader must lead, but also be ready to follow.
Meaning?
Knowing when your expertise is needed to set the direction, but also knowing when to step back, listen, and empower your team if they have a better idea, being willing to follow their lead sometimes.
Okay, what else?
Be close with subordinates, but not too close. Build rapport, earn trust, know your people, but maintain enough distance to make tough calls objectively.
That's a tricky one.
Very, and maybe the core one. Exercise extreme ownership. You're responsible for everything, while also using decentralized command, empowering others to lead.
Owning it all, but letting go of control.
Exactly. It's a constant balancing act. The sources describe one of the hardest decisions a leader faced, a CEO named Andy.
What was the situation?
He had immense loyalty to a longtime manager, a friend whose division was just bleeding money, dragging the company down. Andy kept trying to make it work out of loyalty.
Protecting his guy.
Until the instructor asked him, point blank, so one of your men is more important than the mission.
Ouch, that's direct.
It hit hard. It drew this parallel to WWII sailors having to seal hatches on flooded compartments knowing friends were trapped inside to save the ship.
The greater good.
It's the harsh reality of leadership sometimes.
Yeah.
Making decisions for the mission, even when they're personally painful, it takes incredible discipline.
So, for you listening, where do you feel that pull between opposites in your leadership? Maybe between being tough and being empathetic, sticking to rules versus being flexible.
Recognizing these dichotomies is the first step. How can understanding them help you find that better balance, make more effective decisions for the long haul?
And making those tough calls often requires a clear head, right?
Yeah.
Which brings up another technique from the sources, the idea of detaching.
Yes, detaching, stepping back, physically, mentally, getting out of the immediate chaos to see the bigger picture.
It feels counterintuitive, though. When things are crazy, your instinct is to jump in, take control.
Right, you want to grab the reins tighter. But detaching is often more powerful. The author shares this great story from when he was a new guy SEAL in training.
What happened?
They were on an offshore oil platform exercise. Complex structure, catwalks, pipes, stairs everywhere. The whole platoon, even experienced guys, just froze. Overwhelmed, disoriented.
Sensory overload.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
But him, the new guy, he instinctively did something different. He raised his weapon slightly high porting and just stepped back a few feet off the firing line.
Created a little distance.
That tiny physical step back gave him instant mental clarity. He could suddenly see infinitely more. He saw the layout, the threats, the best path.
While everyone else was still lost in the maze.
Exactly. And from that slightly detached view, he called out the solution. Hold left, move right. Basic tactic, but invisible to those immersed in the chaos. He, the junior guy, led them through.
Wow. So detaching lets you see more clearly.
Infinitely more, the source says. Allows for better decisions. Pulling back from the emotional heat, the cognitive overload, gives you that strategic view.
And this applies beyond combat.
Absolutely. Managing your own emotions in a tense meeting. Reading other people more accurately because you're observing, not just reacting. Seeing the bigger picture in planning or solving problems.
But there's a danger of being too detached, right? Losing touch.
That's the dichotomy again. You can become aloof. The key is balance. Know when to step back for perspective, but also know when to step back in, re-engage, be present with your team.
So a practical tip for the listener.
Next time you feel overwhelmed, too many emails, conflicting demands, rising anger, try it. Physically step away, take a breath. Consciously try to broaden your view. What might you see that you missed in the thick of it?
That clarity is powerful. And achieving it often requires humility, which feels like the opposite of the stereotypical hard-charging leader. This brings us to another key dichotomy: arrogance versus humility.
A critical one. The sources point out that while some people might have natural leadership traits, true, sustainable leadership demands humility, a constant drive to learn and improve.
The author even says he wasn't naturally talented.
Right. He says he learned to lead by getting others with more talent and more skill to do what I needed them to do. That takes real self-awareness, real humility.
And the sources contrast leaders on this.
Vividly.
Yeah.
2 platoon commanders in combat. The first, least experienced individual, but totally closed off to advice. Dismissed input from seasoned guys. His way or the highway.
Arrogance.
Textbook arrogance led to bad plans, poor performance. Eventually, he was removed, couldn't adapt, couldn't learn.
And the second commander,
Known as Delta Charlie. Brilliant tactician, highly skilled, but the picture of humility. He practiced classic decentralized command, empowering junior guys to plan, welcoming their ideas.
he listened?
He listened, he credited others, and that humility, it motivated the whole platoon. They worked incredibly hard because we didn't want to let him down. His humility built intense loyalty and drive.
What about in the business world? Does arrogance show up there?
Oh, constantly. The sources describe a chief technology officer in a consulting job who just bristled at extreme ownership, resisted it at every turn, with haughty and arrogant comments. His conceit and condescension were obvious to the consultants. Interestingly, his employees liked him, his charisma maybe. The CEO thought they were fooled.
But the arrogance was blocking progress.
The expert identified the CTO's big ego as the core problem, a huge barrier to learning, collaboration, and effective leadership.
So how do you cultivate humility, especially in someone naturally arrogant? The SEALs had a method.
A pretty intense one. For arrogant young leaders, they deliberately put them in charge of a mission or project I knew was outside their level of competency.
Set them up to struggle?
The goal was to force them to ask for help, admit they didn't know everything, or, alternatively, to fall flat on their face and get humbled by failure.
Tough love.
If they somehow succeeded, they just made the next mission harder until humility was learned. It was about stripping away that ego, fostering openness.
That's a challenge for anyone leading. How do you assess your own humility? Are you really open to criticism, seeking ways to improve?
And how do you handle arrogance in others? Gently, effectively humbling someone, a peer, a team member to help them grow, without crushing them, It's a delicate balance.
That path to improvement, whether it's about humility or anything else, relies so much on communication, honest communication, up and down the chain.
Absolutely. Speaking the truth even when it's hard.
Let's talk about leading down first, communicating with your team.
The sources stress getting out from behind the desk, stepping out of the office and personally engaging in face-to-face conversations with the frontline folks.
Why is that so important?
It's not just morale. It's understanding their real challenges, getting the ground truth, and critically, making sure they truly understand the commander's intent, the why.
Like the example with the SEALs and Iraqi soldiers again.
Perfect example. Initially, the SEALs were livid and completely against the idea. They saw the Iraqis as low capability, undisciplined, lots of grumbling.
So the leader had to step in.
Had to clearly, repeatedly explain why working together was crucial. For mission approval, for pushing into enemy areas, for the whole seize, clear, hold, build strategy, the long-term path to winning.
Connecting their work to the bigger picture.
That consistent explanation of the why turned resistance into commitment, even camaraderie, built through the blood, sweat, and tears of combat. They got it.
Okay, so that's leading down. What about leading up? Communicating with your bosses.
That's a different challenge. The sources talk about the staggering amount of paperwork SEALs needed for mission approvals from higher HQ, often caused delays.
Frustrating, I bet.
Hugely. But the realization they had was profound. If higher-ups had questions or concerns, it wasn't their fault for not understanding. It was the leader's fault for not clearly communicated it to him.
Taking ownership of the upward communication.
Exactly. So they started a campaign of leading up the chain of command, proactively providing extremely detailed mission planning documents, anticipating questions, even inviting bosses to observe operations, building trust upwards.
So part of this is delivering bad news too, right? Not hiding problems.
Essential. Tell the hard truths promptly. Don't hope problems vanish. Hiding bad news falling sales. Project delays just breeds rumors about the impending catastrophe, creates gossip and groupthink, paralysis.
So attack rumors with.
Truth. Be truthful, be direct, and be timely. Rip the Band-Aid off.
And there's a dichotomy here too, isn't there, about pushback?
Yes. You shouldn't just be a yes man. Blind agreement leads to bad places. Simply being a yes man all the time is not good.
But you also need subordinates to follow plans.
Right. The balance is encouraging subordinates to ask questions, raise concerns, even challenge plans respectfully. Why? Because the leader might have lack of perspective, blind spots.
So open dialogue leads to better plans.
The best possible plan because it uses all available insights. So reflect on this. How often do you proactively share crucial info upwards? Even the uncomfortable stuff.
And downwards, do you create a space where your team feels safe delivering bad news, questioning assumptions, knowing your input is valued, not punished? That open dialogue sounds key to building a strong team. And part of that strength comes from what the sources call discipline and pride, which redefines taking care of your people. It's not about making things easy for them.
Exactly. It's another one of those counterintuitive truths. If you really care about your people, you won't coddle them at all. You will push them hard. You will train them hard.
Discipline isn't punishment, it's preparation.
It's enabling high performance, like the example of searching buildings for intel. Instead of just ransacking, tearing through missing things, they imposed discipline.
How?
Systematic search teams, specific procedures, initially, resistance. This is slow, but through practice, rehearsal.
It became effective.
Massively. Drastically improved our effectiveness and efficiency, found more intel, faster, safer. The source states bluntly, discipline leads them to freedom.
Freedom from what?
Freedom from chaos, mistakes, indecision, freedom to operate effectively at a high level.
Okay, that's discipline. What about pride?
Pride is huge, and the sources say pride comes from shared suffering. Not just from winning easily, but from earning success through hard work, overcoming tough challenges together.
Like getting through Hell Week creates pride.
Exactly. That shared struggle bonds teams. And unit pride, seen in how soldiers look, maintain gear, execute drills, create self-policing teams.
Meaning?
The team will not allow substandard performance. Teammates hold each other accountable, not out of negativity, but out of collective pride in their standards, their mission.
Now, praise fits in here somewhere, but there's a warning, too.
Yeah, the dichotomy of praise. You need to praise good work, reinforce it. But too much praise, or generic praise, can breed complacency.
So instead of just, you guys are the best,
Frame it with a challenge. This is the best task unit, and if you push harder, you will set a new standard. Let's see if you can shave another 2 minutes off. Acknowledge success, but keep raising the bar.
And praise individuals, too.
Definitely. Praising the team is good, but specific individual praise, Mike, nice job on that brief, hits harder, reinforces personal accountability, avoids that group complacency.
So again, for you listening, how do you define taking care of your people? Is it about challenge and high standards, fostering discipline and pride?
Or are you maybe coddling them, inadvertently lowering the bar? How do you balance that necessary praise with the drive for continuous improvement?
That balance is everywhere in leadership. And maybe nowhere more important than in managing emotions, your own and your team's.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is critical.
Absolutely. Controlling your own reactions, making logical calls under pressure. It sets the tone for everyone.
The sources offer a specific technique for dealing with someone else's strong emotions, right?
Yeah, a really powerful one. When someone, subordinate, peer, even your boss is angry or upset, the worst thing to say is, calm down.
Never works. Usually makes it worse.
Right. It dismisses their feelings. Instead, the technique is to reflect their emotions but diminish them.
How does that work?
You acknowledge their feeling, show you hear it, but slightly reduce the intensity. Someone yells, "This is ridiculous." You respond calmly, "Okay, I hear you. This is frustrating, but let's look at what we can do."
So you validate the feeling, but pivot to solutions.
Phrases like, "I hear you. I understand your frustration. I see why you feel that way, however." They bridge the gap, de-escalate, and shift to problem solving. Works up and down the chain.
Okay, what about the leader's emotions? When is it okay to yell?
The source is very clear. Almost never. Yelling out of anger or frustration, that's called weak leadership, shows lack of control.
And the team mirrors it.
Exactly. If your team doesn't get something, it's your fault for not explaining it clearly enough, not theirs for being dumb. Yelling achieves nothing constructive.
Only exception.
Purely for volume. In rare cases like over battlefield noise or loud machinery, never from anger.
What about listening? Seems simple, but
Often overlooked. The sources say there is no better cure for a person who wants to talk a lot than letting them get their thoughts out of their head. Just listen.
let them vent. Get it out.
It allows you to gather info, understand their perspective, assess their ideas, and it gives you time to formulate your most comprehensive and developed thoughts before you jump in.
2 final points on managing ego here.
Crucial ones. First, don't take things personally. Fight that ego response. Criticism is usually about the situation or the outcome, not a personal attack on you.
Hard to do sometimes.
Very. And second, don't dig in. Don't stubbornly defend your own idea just because it's yours. Be willing to look to see which idea was actually better, even if it came from a junior person.
Deferring for the better solution.
Yeah, and letting others own good ideas fosters buy-in. So think about your reactions under pressure. Can you detach from emotion? Can you really listen?
Are you fighting your ego to make the best call, not just your call? That idea of not digging in, prioritizing the mission over ego, it leads to maybe the most counterintuitive lesson, knowing when to quit.
Right. There's a time to quit. Not quitting the overall mission, but quitting a specific tactic that isn't working.
Abandoning a tactical objective to achieve the strategic goal. Strategic flexibility.
It's one of the hardest lessons, especially for driven leaders. The sources use this brutal training scenario to illustrate it.
The barricaded shooter drill.
Yeah. A young SEAL officer is leading an assault. His plan is a frontal attack. It's failing. His men are getting taken out, simulated casualties piling up.
But he won't change the plan.
He refuses to quit his initial tactic. Keeps sending men forward into the meat grinder. Fixated. Driven to push through, even as his platoon is wiped out.
So how did he learn?
The instructor steps in, not with answers, but questions. Forces him. Take a step back, detach, look around. Do you think maybe there is another option?
Forcing him to see beyond the failing tactic.
Exactly. The solution was obvious once he detached. A flanking move through some windows, achieved the objective, minimal casualties. The lesson.
Sticking to a failing tactic means you fail the mission.
If you pursue a failing tactical objective until your team is completely spent or compromised, then yes, the team has failed the strategic mission. You have to conserve resources, adapt, know when a specific approach isn't working, and pivot.
Are there historical examples of this?
The sources cite big ones. General Washington strategically retreating from New York in the Revolution. lost the city, tactical defeat, but saved his army to fight another day and win the war, strategic victory.
Or Gallipoli in WWI.
The Allied withdrawal, huge tactical failure, incredibly costly, but abandoning it preserved forces for other, ultimately successful, fronts. Tactical quits for strategic success.
So the question for you listening, are you or your team maybe too stubborn, clinging to a failing project or strategy because of sunk costs or ego?
Can you tell the difference between a tactical objective, the battle, and the strategic mission, the war? When is it time to pivot, accept a tactical loss, or quit a specific method to ensure you win in the long run?
That ability to pivot, to know when to change tactics, it all hinges on understanding the bigger picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which brings us right back to that constant thread,
Yeah.
communicating the why.
The invisible thread, yeah. Connecting every action back to the strategic purpose. Absolutely fundamental.
We saw with the SEALs and the Iraqi soldiers.
Perfect illustration. The SEALs were initially livid, totally against working with the Iraqi army, perceived them as low capability, undisciplined. Real resistance.
Until the leader explained the why.
Clearly, consistently explained why it was critical. Not just convenient, but necessary for strategic approval, essential for the seize, clear, hold, build strategy, the only path to long-term success there.
So understanding the strategic importance changed their perspective.
Completely. Turned resistance into commitment. Even camaraderie, forged in shared combat because they understood their part in the larger mission. They bought in.
And the business example showed the opposite.
Yeah, the CEO announcing huge profits, expecting cheers.
And getting awkward silence.
Because the workforce didn't get the why. Why did it matter to them? The connection between company success and their own benefit, maybe through the compensation plan, wasn't clear.
So once the why was communicated effectively,
linking their efforts to the company's goals, showing how they benefited, then buy-in happened. People got motivated.
the takeaway seems clear.
If goals aren't aligned, fix it. Subordinates need to feel safe asking why. Leaders must foster that. And leaders must impart this understanding down to the tactical level operators on the ground.
Everyone needs to know the purpose.
Not just what to do, but why it matters. So ask yourself, do your team members truly understand the bigger picture, the why behind their tasks, especially the tough ones?
How consistently are you communicating that strategic purpose to inspire real commitment, not just compliance? Communicating the why isn't a one-time thing, it's ongoing. Which leads to our final point. Leadership isn't just about doing things right in the moment. It's about a continuous cycle.
The cycle of improvement. Effective planning, clear briefing, and rigorous post-operational debriefs. That's the engine that drives high performance.
Let's start with planning. How did the SEALs approach it?
With a standardized planning process, very robust. Mission analysis, exploring different courses of action, detailed rehearsals, thoroughness was key.
Did that make them rigid?
Quite the opposite. It made them agile. There's a story about a hostage rescue mission. Just before launch, new intel comes in unexpected IEDs, enemy bunkers.
Last-minute changes.
Because their planning process was so solid, they could rapidly adapt, adjust routes, brief new contingencies to everyone. Robust planning enables flexibility.
Okay, then briefing the plan. How did they make that effective?
Initially, SEAL briefings could be daunting. Hundreds of PowerPoint slides, maybe read out loud, dry, ineffective.
Death by PowerPoint.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Jocko insisted on simplifying them, briefing for the lowest common denominator, using clear maps, even hand sketches.
And involving the team.
Critically, having the actual troops brief their parts of the mission, asking them questions, letting them ask questions, ensures real understanding, gets buy-in, and it frees up the leaders to focus on the big picture.
And after the mission, the debrief.
Absolutely critical. The sources hammer this home, no matter how exhausted time is made for the debrief, immediately after.
What happens in the debrief?
Candid examination. What went right? What went wrong? How can we adapt and improve? No blame, just ruthless honesty focused on learning.
Refining what worked, what didn't.
That constant self-examination, that cycle of plan, brief, execute, debrief, plan, that's how SEAL units maintain their edge, constantly improved. Every mission, win or lose, became a lesson.
So, practical steps for you listening. How solid is your team's planning? Do you encourage questions during briefings to ensure everyone gets it?
And most importantly, are you consistently holding candid debriefs, extracting lessons, implementing changes? Because without that learning loop, you're just repeating mistakes. You're missing the biggest opportunity for growth.
Wow. This has been quite a deep dive. It really brings home that effective leadership, whether it's SEALs or CEOs. It's a complex.
Incredibly complex. Embracing that complexity, mastering the balance between those dichotomies, always striving to be better.
It's a constant effort, constant self-reflection.
A truly complex undertaking, as the sources say, but one that delivers extraordinary results when you commit to it.
Yeah. And that core theme running through it all.
It is all on you, but not about you. That sums it up beautifully, doesn't it?
It really does. You, the leader, are ultimately responsible for everything. Success, failure, it stops with you. Extreme ownership.
But true leadership isn't about your ego. It's about empowering others, building that culture of accountability, innovation, creating an environment where everyone contributes, learns, and wins together.
These principles, forged in places like Ramadi, tested in Hell Week, applied in boardrooms, they really do seem like universal keys.
Keys to success in any high-stakes environment, absolutely.
So as you, our listener, reflect on all this, extreme ownership, the laws of combat, those tricky dichotomies, what's the one principle or maybe one balancing act?
Yeah, what's the one thing that really resonated, the one you commit to owning, to implementing in your own life, your own team, starting tomorrow?
And more than just thinking about it, what would that actually look like in action? What's a tangible first step you could take?
Something to really mull over. Apply it to your world.
And keep diving deep into your own leadership journey.